Hey there. Before we get started on today's episode, I wanted you to know that on February 21st, we are offering our first physician brand and AI bootcamp. You guys, this is a 3-hour working event. It's not a webinar, it's a workshop. You're going to be building stuff. You're going to be using our custom GPTs, making your own GPTs, and walking away with content generating agents that are going to build for you forever. It's going to be awesome. Please go to superdoctech.com/AI bootcamp and use the coupon code STORIES to get 50% off your ticket. It's going to be February 21st, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific. See you there. Welcome to Superdoc Stories. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Marissa Caudell, and today on the Superdoc Stories podcast, I am interviewing Dr. Meghan Tierney. She is one of our Superdoc members. She is a family medicine, obesity medicine, and menopause certified specialist based in Seattle, Washington, with a telehealth and in-person practice called Sorrel Health and Wellness. Welcome, Meghan.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk today.
I'm super excited to hear your story because you've been with us for a while now, but you were part of a group that just hit the ground running. And I don't think I got to talk to you very much about your backstory and how you started Sorrel. And you were just telling me that your previous experience was as a W-2 employee in a large multi-specialty practice. So can you tell us what your journey was in medicine?
Yeah, I have been practicing primary care for about a decade, and I was in a large corporate medicine organization who I had been with the entire time, actually through training into my attending position. And then I was like thinking about like things that I was really interested in, what was really like making me excited to talk to patients. I was in this place of experimenting with like new focuses and learning new things. And then this past year in the spring, I was laid off with less than 30 days notice.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a great Zoom, by the way.
I know. I was like, that was cool. I think my eyes went big in the Zoom. What? Like, for anybody watching the video, I didn't blame that. My AI and this camera is going a little wonky, so sorry. Oh, I loved it. I was like, whoa, it just did that. That was cool. Oh my God, too funny. So, all right. Okay, but this is actually, okay, I'm so sorry that happened, first of all, but this happens. And we just hear about this more and more. I know more and more physicians. I think as physicians, we took for granted that, oh, we're safe. As physicians, we're safe. But as for-profit business companies have bought and taken over the management of healthcare organizations where physicians are just the employees and aren't at a high level of managing it, this has happened over and over again. And I know so many people who just had the rug pulled out from under their feet. And that must have been really scary. So when did that happen? This year, 2025?
Yeah, this year it happened. Yeah, I got notice in the beginning of March, and then my last day was the first day of April. It was crazy. And I feel I was already thinking, I was like, oh, maybe I'll do something else. I'm like getting excited. I had already gotten my board certification in obesity medicine. I love talking to women about, like making all these changes in my like regular primary care job. And then this happened, and I was like, all right, I have 4 weeks to figure it out. Like 4 weeks to figure out what is my next step. Am I going to brush up my CV and start looking for another W-2 position? Am I going to do locums, or am I going to try and figure out how to do something that I build, that I love, that lets me take care of patients in the way that I want to take care of them? And I don't know, I just put on my big girl pants and just did it. Yeah. Yeah. And so I went from literally beginning of March, finding out I didn't have a job, to seeing my first patient in August.
If you're enjoying Superdoc Stories and thinking about building a practice on your own terms, you're probably wondering how to get all the tech pieces to actually work together. Superdoc Tech is the operating system for cash pay practices. Mona and I built it for our own clinics, and now we're sharing it with physicians everywhere. It captures every lead, books more visits automatically, and runs your patient acquisition 24/7 with AI and automations. New practices can skip years of guesswork. Established clinics finally get a back end that works. Head on over to superdoctech.com and use coupon code PODCAST50 to get 50% off your first 3 months. That's over a $1,000 value. Now back to the episode. That's amazing. Okay, so I've interviewed now, I think I told you you're like the 6th or 7th doctor here. And
most people don't have your drastic beginning origin
Yeah.
story. Most people go through a period of months or years where they're like doing some transitional thing, like a little locums here, a little hospitalist night shift here, whatever. But you just unwittingly were like forced into the deep end, which actually I think is a gift. But I
I
don't know how you
agree.
feel about it.
No, 100%. Like the metaphor that I say is I was like contemplating jumping out of the plane and then I just got pushed out and figured
Yeah.
out how to put my parachute on as I fell. And I think if I hadn't been laid off, I probably would have stayed in that position for another 1 or 2 years, maybe longer, because I was paid well. I didn't necessarily feel joy, but I was paid well. It felt safe. It felt secure. And it is so hard to leave something like that and do
It is
something
hard.
that feels so scary to do some and like we don't know how to run a business. Like I never learned how to run a business. I never learned how especially like in like a large multi-specialty organization, even though I was in leadership, I still was so cut off from the day to day, like how do you run a clinic, that it felt Mount Everest. But it turns out when you give yourself like no other choice, like you climb Mount Everest. And yeah.
And it turns out that running a business compared to everything we've done in medicine is
Not that
not
big of a
nearly as hard
No.
because it's not the person's going to die if you don't
Right.
send the bill on time or if you misfile something. Like it's just
Yeah,
not that big a deal. Well,
totally.
okay, that's so much more inspiring now that I know your story. The other thing that people have told me is they made it through that time by telling themselves, and this was true for me as well, I can always go back. Right.
Yeah.
I know how to do that and I
Yeah.
can do it. And maybe it's not perfect, but it's not horrible. Like I wasn't dying. Like, I
Yeah.
was a little burnt out some days, but for me, I wasn't
Yeah.
like horribly burnt out at my job. I just was like, this isn't really the right, it's not the worst thing in the world, but
Yeah.
20 years from now, if I'm still at this job and this is what I retire from and they throw me my retirement party, I'm going to feel like I left something on the table, that I didn't give it all I could have, that I
Yeah.
could have
Yeah.
done more for patients and humanity, not to sound like egotistical, but I think I can do more and I wanted to have more impact than I was having, even
Yeah.
though I was super busy. It wasn't
Yeah.
the level of impact I wanted to have.
Yeah.
How did you do it? Like it must have been though an ego blow to get fired. And then it must have
Yeah.
been also really stressful to have, did you get severance or was it just like, you're done?
No, I did get severance. I was
Okay.
very lucky and I
Thankfully.
got severance. Yeah. It wasn't much but it was a little bit. And I think I am lucky that I am married to someone who is in tech, who has a very stable job, and we were like in an okay position. So I was very
Yeah.
lucky in that regard. I wasn't like a single parent. Like I had a little bit of wiggle room. And then I was able to find a locums position that I'm still doing now as I'm building my practice. That has been really great. And again, shout out to other small business owners and like entrepreneurs, right? This is just like another like private practice that was looking for locums and was like, hey, you can be super flexible. This is what we need. And I was like, great, I need super flexible. And so I think one thing I didn't realize when I was trying to figure this out was it can feel like you are doing it by yourself. Like it feels like it's only you. Only you need to figure out how to start a practice, or only you need to figure out how to market a practice and find patients, or to make money. But there are so many of us now. And the general feeling I get from people is that they want to be supportive. They want to bring everybody up with them. They want everybody to be successful. And so I think that initial fear was really tempered by the experience of like really connecting with other entrepreneurs and seeing that there was so much support out there, because otherwise it would be really daunting, so daunting to do by yourself.
I think that's a very important point. And it's not immediately obvious when you're coming from a big group practice where all the physicians are in the same position you are, an employed position. And then you go to do your own thing. At first, you do feel like you're the one weird salmon swimming upstream, right? It feels a little weird and people treat you like you're weird. But I've seen a graph at the PIMD conference, and it was about over the last 30 years, the percentage of physicians who used to be self-employed, like 30, 25 years ago, was the reverse. It was about 75% of people were self-employed because insurance used to actually like pay well enough that you could take insurance and make a lot of money. And you can just have your practice and do your thing and have autonomy and not have to see 20 patients a day. And then it's very gradually over the last 25 years, which is basically, I started med school in 1999. So my mentors in that year were those people who had like a successful private practice. They hung their shingle, they were doing their thing. They were often retiring soon, but they had their whole career doing that. And I thought that's what I was going to do. But then by the time I finished med school in 2007 and then finished my training in 2013, it was the opposite. Most people were taking jobs in employed positions. And now it's about 78% nationwide of physicians are employed of the 1.1 or 1.2 million physicians in the US. So there still are like hundreds of thousands of doctors who are self-employed, who are doing their own thing. So if you don't know anyone, find them. They're out there. They're in your town, I guarantee. Or, you know, now thankfully with technology and Facebook groups and coaching groups and all of this, it's easy to find those people. And I absolutely agree. There's such a wealth of resources. And we were actually talking, if anybody here is interested in talking with any of our guests, please check them out on the show notes, reach out to them. Everybody has been really open, Meghan as well, about wanting to support other physicians who have questions or are thinking about doing something like this. So thank you for offering that and for being that kind of a guide. So what's been like the hardest part of this year? Have you opened your practice yet? Is it still getting ready?
Yes.
Like, where are you at with everything?
Yeah. So I started seeing patients in August. So I have a very temporary space because again, you get a short runway. You're like, how do I make this happen? And yeah, I have a temporary space. I started seeing patients in August. It's very slowly growing. I think like one challenge that I didn't really account for is that when you was in a practice in an HMO practice, it's like essentially a closed system. And so my name in the outside world of doctors in private practice or not in private practice is unknown. And so not only do I have not visibility with patients, but like also potential referral sources. So I think that's one challenge I didn't anticipate in this sort of like building up. So right now, my big like essentially the thing that I am doing if I'm not seeing patients is trying to build visibility, like meeting people and going to networking things and sending emails and having Zoom meetings and all that stuff just to be like, hey, I exist. I am a doctor here and I do things. And I can help your patient. I think that's definitely something I didn't think about because I think it's different if you're like someone who is in a practice that refers out. If I was referring out, people would know my name, but because I was only referring in, like nobody knows who I exist.
Yeah, you were in a kind of self-contained system. Yeah, that just came up for those of you who are listening. I'm noticing now like patterns to what the doctors on this podcast are saying. And just the last guest I had was Dr. Shrika Newman, and she was saying that exact thing. Like the most important thing is realizing that the vast majority of your new patients are going to come from your local network, basically. If you have a physical office, it's going to be people who know you. And she was like, if your office is here and the Kiwanis Club is over there, call them and go offer to talk about them, about Hypertensive Month to the Kiwanis Club. Like just put yourself out there as the expert because we are. Like we have a lot of knowledge that people are hungry for. And when you're in an employed position, you never think about that. Because like, again, if you're in an insurance-based care model, there's not a supply problem, right? There's a demand or meeting the demand problem. There's it's not a demand problem. You have too much demand. It's a supply problem. Like you don't have enough doctors to take care of everybody. But when you're going on your own, it is the opposite. Like I'm awesome. Where's everybody? You think people are going to open your doors and everybody's going to come running, and that's not necessarily the case. Now, are you a cash-paced model? Or are you like direct primary care? How are you running your business?
So it's cash pay. It's started out as just membership. I just recently added like a pay per visit option. Mostly because, and I think that it's just like you really have to pay attention or look at what everybody else is doing. And in my area, there are almost the only people who are doing memberships are direct primary care clinics. And so I think like the model, like people are unsure of the model. And so I added that as just an option to be like, hey, I feel like this feels new and different. Let's add this thing that feels a little bit more familiar. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I think like in reality, when it comes to like menopause and weight management, like membership makes a lot of sense to me just because the care is really very continuity based. You want to have really clear follow-up so that you know that everybody's on the same page. And it felt to me like the care and the care model sort of matched, which is why I went with membership to begin with. I didn't want to chase people down.
And it's probably going to evolve, right? I think the whole thing is evolving. How has it been in your experience in Seattle? I think every market is different, but this whole idea of direct pay medical care, it's not new. It's been around actually for a long time, but for many patients, it still seems new. We talk to a lot of direct care doctors who find the initial reaction might be like, you don't take insurance, kind of this shock and horror.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then when people realize, and I think more and more people, I live in Los Angeles where people definitely get it. Like, I think we have to
Yeah.
think about health insurance almost the same way we think about our homeowners insurance, which here in California, the homeowners insurance companies are dropping people left and right because of the fires and everything else. It's catastrophic insurance coverage. We
Totally.
need it in case you get sick while you're on vacation or your gallbladder ruptures and you need it out tomorrow or today.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, and I love my primary care doctor, but when I go to her and I'm like, hey, I want to check all these things and I want to know if this, it's just not how they're trained to do it. And it's not how the system works because insurance is taking a bet that for your premium, they're not going to spend that much money on you on average, right? And so their doctors have to be aligned with that because they're getting paid by the insurance companies to not order unnecessary tests. And so if I'm like a healthy 48-year-old woman and I'm not horribly sick or anything, generally I'm in excellent health, right? So if I want to check a bunch of labs, my doctor's going to be like, oh, no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. We don't have to do that. Or we checked your cholesterol last year. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I want to know those things, like, and especially for menopause care and perimenopause, as like my estrogen might be fine this month, but what about next month? It's not consistently fine. I know by the way I'm feeling. So what does that mean? And how do I get an answer to feel better? It takes a relationship with someone who can follow you, talk to you monthly, hear how things are going. And for obviously obesity management, same.
Yeah.
It's more important. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it changes. Like your body is changing. Like whether it's perimenopause or it's weight loss, like your body, it's constantly changing. That's like actually the state of being. And you'd want someone who's like with you along for the changes, right? You don't want to be like, it's 8 p.m. and I have this question. I'm going to ask like a weird Facebook group, like what I should do, which I think is like my number one thing is like, I want my patients to know that they can reach out to me and not ask a weird Facebook group for medical advice. If that is all I do in the world, like I feel great. Yeah. And I think like doctors and insurance-based practices, they don't get paid for that care. That's not part of the model. And now insurance companies are like not paying doctors based on care. Like they're saying like, actually, we don't think you should have done that, or we don't agree with how much you're asking for. So we're not going to give it to you. So yeah.
Yeah. I think we have reached definitely like the extreme of the pendulum shift of how many doctors will tolerate being in these employed insurance-based practices. And I think we're starting to see the shift in the other direction for sure. I think it actually started probably several years ago with the whole DPC revolution, but I think it's just going to continue. And I talked with Kat Theodon, who's in Seattle too. No, she's in Spokane. And she was saying they also found a lot of their patients were like, what do you mean you don't take insurance? And then once they joined and started getting their care there, they realized I'm actually paying less, having this and catastrophic in coverage, like a high deductible plan, than I was with my like premium PPO, whatever, and going to a doctor that was hard to reach and didn't call me back and all those things. So it's definitely the way forward. And I think we have to talk more about it. So I love that you're doing this. I hope that you are getting out there and discussing it and sharing the wins that you and your patients are having, obviously in a HIPAA compliant way, but to let every average person know that there probably is now someone in your town who also is a doctor practicing like I do. Find them. But you're actually making me think I want to find someone who has a membership model for my menopause care here, because I see someone once a year and she's great. But actually, like, she's fee for service and expensive. I'd rather pay a monthly fee to someone that I could see a couple times a year or reach out to if I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know that for instance, I am currently in the market for finding myself my own like direct primary care doctor. There aren't enough, to be honest. Like I think once you know that membership model exists and that there are doctors who want to be there for you, like whatever the care is that you're looking for, you're like, how do I get into that? Like where do I find those people? And I would like to give you my money. So I feel like once people understand, like you said, like once people get it, once they see, oh, it's actually cheaper and I get better care and more access and a real relationship with my provider, that sounds amazing. Like, why wouldn't we all do that? I also think patients don't realize that you can, if you have out-of-network benefit, like you can get coverage for some of that money that you're spending. So it's like, I think like people they don't know how insurance works and just feel, oh, insurance just pays for things and then it doesn't. And then
I don't
sadness.
understand how insurance works. My husband and I, every year, we just had open enrollment again. And like, I was ranting on my soapbox about like, how can this be? You get this like website. It's, do you want the gold or the platinum or it feels, I'm like, what is this? What does it even
Yeah.
mean? I don't know what that means. I guess I want the best one, right? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I want the best one, but then it's like, I don't actually know. Like, there's no way to
Yeah.
find out for you, right? And your
Yeah.
health needs, what would be the best one? And then
Yeah.
as a child psychiatrist, I can tell you, I just get so mad at insurance companies because I would have to do prior authorizations for ADHD medication. And they play
Yeah.
these games.
Some game.
I'm going on. So many
Yeah.
games for 1 month, or I think quarterly, they kind of change which drugs are on the formulary and approved.
I hate
right?
it. Yeah.
And there's no rhyme or reason. Like
Yeah.
1 month Adderall brand is on the formulation, and the next month
Yeah.
Concerta is on the formulation. And I'm like, but no, we tried that before. And this person does best on Adderall
Yeah.
or the generic version. And then you call and you get some person who's just like reading a form and they can't even pronounce the words. And one person says no. And then you call again tomorrow. And then another person says yes. And I'm like, I just want to find out why, because I answered the same
Yes.
way and I don't understand. Like, it's just crazy making. It's absolutely
it's
crazy
totally
making.
crazy. Yeah. 100%.
It's absolutely broken. And I think it can't continue like this.
Yeah.
When you have for-profit companies that are having to post to shareholders growth quarter
Yeah.
after quarter, the squeeze just keeps happening until it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like, you can't run healthcare that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen, but it's obvious to me that like that there's an end in sight with all that. That just can't
Yeah.
keep going.
Totally. And I think that the problem essentially for physicians is that we are the squeeze point, right? Because
Absolutely.
we are
One of
one of several. But I think like in particular, there are like two things that we have against us. One is we went through the process of medical school and residency, which really is this sort of indoctrination into not really thinking about ourselves, like even our own bodily needs. Like we really like suppress all of that in order to care for others. And then we're thrust into like corporate America, which does not care about us. And that's like really a recipe for like being abused by a system. Like we just don't have any, and we're not unionized. We have no union. We don't have any power. And I think like I feel like I've really noticed sort of an exodus from being an employed physician because people are they feel that. We all feel that. And wanting to take back, like, actually, I went into this to help patients. Like, I went into this to care for patients. Like, all this other nonsense is getting in the way and it's making me sad. And I think we would all rather have our doctor be happy and taking care of patients that they want to be, how they want to be taking care of them. I think if people knew how hard it was to be in these employed positions, they'd realize like why doctors are doing what they're doing. They're really trying to like provide good care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, first of all, I want to really give you a round of applause because I wrote down like fired in April, started seeing patients in August. That's just 4 months. That's very quick to start a whole new business from the ground up when you had never done it before. It's not like you had
Never
done
done
it
it.
previously.
Yeah.
Okay.
No idea what.
Bravo, girl. That's pretty amazing. And now it's December and how's it going? Do you feel like this is going to continue and this is it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I am still trying to grow. I'm still trying to figure out like, how do I get patients? I think I would maybe equate trying to start a cash-based practice a little bit. Like, I feel like this is a really hard time to start a cash-based practice. I think all of us are really feeling like an economic shift.
Yep.
And I think like I'm definitely coming up against that. But I am determined to make my practice work and I have levers to pull to shift and adjust to the needs of where I'm at. And like, I'm probably going to add primary care as an additional arm. I haven't 100% decided that, but what's cool is that I can have that in my mind and be like, I can like work on this and like think about what that would look like and have that in my back pocket for how do I add that or what way does that add in? And there's so many different ways of doing that. And how cool is it that I can be creative about what my business looks like and how I take care of people? So I think that what I feel is like excitement about imagining what my work will look like, and also the ability to adapt to what is needed and also how to succeed. Cause I think it's really hard to start a business. It's really hard to go from 0 patients to a full panel. And I don't think it's like fair to like sugarcoat that. It's like 100% hard. And I think you have to be willing to figure out like, what can I do? How can I make this work? Keep doing all the things that work. Like I'm doing like this walk with a doc thing. I'm doing like workshops with local personal trainers. And I definitely like my local authority thing seems to be the thing. But I'm also like, I could definitely add other patients by just seeing them as their primary care provider. And yeah, I think that's where I'm at is I'm still growing. I'm still figuring it out. I am still trying to figure out like what works on majority of the time. And so I think that's just the nature of starting a new practice.
I think you've just described running a business. That is what it is. Like you're never done. It's
No.
always changing.
Yeah.
It's hard when it's growing. It's hard when it's shrinking. It's hard when it's
Yeah.
stagnating. It is
Yeah.
hard. You're probably working as hard or harder in terms of hours and like mental capacity on work
Yeah.
as you were in your W-2. Would you agree?
100%. I
Like,
think
do you feel drained because you're working hard,
Yeah.
or do you feel more energized?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I feel like the difference is I am excited to sit down and think about
Yeah.
and like work through the problem and like, figure out how to solve and come up with ideas. I love it. I love it more than I feel like I should. It is exciting and very different than what felt like I'm a really good primary care doctor and I was really good at my job. I was very efficient. I took really good care of my patients, but there wasn't like imagination involved in that. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't innovation. There wasn't like a chance to really, it was a container. It felt like a container. And this does not feel like a container. It feels very expansive.
Like you said, because you can take it in any direction you choose because you have the say and
Yeah.
the ability to change whatever you want to change.
Yeah.
I can't wait to have you back in a few months to discuss what you've learned being in business, like at 6 months, at a year, and how things are changing. I know you're going to grow and be successful. Congratulations.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for coming on and telling your story. I would love for you, if you can, to imagine yourself back in March when you got that letter or email or what meeting, whatever it was, telling you the bad news. What would you say to a physician who finds him or herself in the same spot?
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, the dogs are barking. But in the same spot like 6 months
Yeah.
from now or a year from now,
Yeah.
if they're listening to
Yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah. I think what I would say is that we like all of the things that you had to learn and how you navigate challenges through our training to become a physician is all you need to figure out your next step. It is literally, you already have in you like it not necessarily the detailed knowledge, right? You can figure that out, but you've figured out hard things in the past. You've figured out how to take care of patients. You've figured out really difficult things in very challenging scenarios with not enough sleep or food, not being able to go to the bathroom. I think you really can figure out how to start a business, whatever that business is. You can figure out how to really thrive in a different environment. And it's totally scary, but also the first day of residency was really scary too. Yeah.
And do you regret your choice? Do you wish that you
Oh,
had
no.
taken another W-2?
No. Yeah, I'm done.
I
I'm
think
done
that's
with
the
that.
beautiful thing. I know. It's good that you already feel done with it. I would say for me,
Yeah.
it wasn't that fast. For Mona too, like it took many years, like you said, because we didn't get fired. So like it took
Yeah.
many more years than probably it should have for us to get to that point of leaving. And
Yeah.
then when we did leave, there was still this kind of magnetic pull back of, should I have done this? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Because again, it wasn't that someone forced us out of the plane. It was that
Yeah.
we timidly jumped out of the plane and then we're watching it like sail on without us, without all our friends inside wondering, was this all a big mistake?
Yeah.
I do think it's actually a gift to have that nudge from the universe to push
Oh,
you
yeah.
out in the way. And I think because you have belief in yourself and confidence that you know how to learn the things that you need to learn, because you're a
Yeah.
smart, capable person,
Yeah.
you've done harder things, then you're inevitably going to be immensely successful. So I can't wait to hear what happens with Sorrel, which direction you take it. There's no right or wrong, obviously, but the great news
Yeah.
is you get to pick what feels best for you. And I think your patients will naturally, like the people who attract to you are going to naturally like define it. I think it's going to work itself out.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for coming on the podcast. And everybody, if you want to learn about Megan or reach out to her, please check out the show notes for the details on her website, how you can reach her on socials, or her email.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.